so meeting is adjourned. Now we will have the approval of, well, first, Ms. Davis, would you please do a roll call for us?
Sure. Mrs. Pinter?
Here.
Mrs. Sanders?
Present.
Mrs. Walker?
Present.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Ms. Green?
Here. Okay, so that is 100% attendance today. Next, we'll have the approval of the meeting minutes for September the 18th and also September the 23rd. Before we approve these minutes, does anyone have any comments about the minutes content or corrections? No?
Do not.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
I move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so those minutes are approved. The next is our discussion on the African American Achievement Plan. And our district has been working extremely hard to get this plan going. And we've had meetings with all of us pertaining to this plan. So I thought that was great just to have input prior to the product coming forth. And we will have our superintendent now, Dr. Moore, to discuss it.
Thank you. Through the chair, I do have a quick presentation to highlight some of the work that we have done collectively over the last several weeks, both in working with each member of the committee as well as the work the district has done. So I begin by saying thank you for giving your time freely. Each of you have had the opportunity to meet with myself and Ms. Dampier to review the plan, initial overview, as well as the opportunity to receive your feedback. My goal, as stated individually with each of you, is to develop a plan that we all can be proud of. This is the community's plan that defines the action that this school district will take in order to ensure that we are moving the needle. So the opportunity to connect, receive your feedback, and incorporate that feedback was very, very meaningful. So what I'll do today is quickly review the process that we have in true clicker fashion. Here we go. Is our theory of action, the steps that we have taken, and the process we're following. This is an opportunity to come together to work collectively to affect all students. It begins with high expectations, the development of a plan that isn't looking for minimal growth, that isn't looking to meet a minimum expectation, but grounded in the collective belief and understanding that we will act and develop action to have a high expectation and ensure that we're addressing the needs of all students, which takes us to equity. This is a plan that is required, but it isn't required or something that goes away. We are looking at equity within this district. This isn't something we're trying to get out from underneath of. This is opening the curtain on the district's reality, the community's reality, and ensuring that we have equity across this district, and this action continues to ensure that we are the county that is the first to close the gap, the achievement gap, the graduation gap, the equity gap. We are leading that work in the state of Florida, and we're doing that collectively. Transparency. I think one of the biggest points of frustration communicated to me, both from new members as well as old members and throughout the community, is that we collectively do this work in a transparent method. And the process that we have followed, I think you would agree, has been a transparent, open, and honest communication in the establishment and the development of a plan that isn't pulling or shading or trying to mask information. The truth is the truth. Let's speak truth to power. Let's design a plan that's going to be aggressive in order to address the needs of all students. Accountability. I think one of the biggest pieces or shifts in this plan is the opportunity for us as a district to ensure that we're holding ourselves accountable. As the superintendent of this district, I asked to be held accountable by the school board. I talked about being accountable in my interview process. I speak about it while sitting on that dais. I desire the opportunity to be held accountable. And in return, I will hold every member of this organization accountable to their actions and how they will be best by kids. And if there is no accountability, then we're not going to move the way we need to move. And then I don't know what just happened. And that concludes my presentation. Musical interlude. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And then finally, collaboration. I have no interest in doing this work in isolation. I have no interest of doing this work by myself. This is the district's plan that we have worked very hard in the creation of, and we will collectively implement and collaborate as we move through. And I've told many of you as we develop this plan, if this plan remains the same after we approve it and then take it back to the board to be approved over the summer, if it's the same plan, then we have fundamentally failed. It is a collaboration, it is an ongoing conversation to shift and modify the plan to ensure that we're continuously establishing a plan based on the current reality. I'm almost afraid to hit the clicker. Yeah, so I'll give you like the little look, and Dr. Parandosi will just hit the clicker once. So just a brief history before we move forward. As you know, in November, there was an opportunity through a workshop with the board, as well as at the time, the African American plan was a driving force with the Joint Committee, as well as the NAACP, to begin to look at a plan and establish what this plan would be moving forward. They used the Pinellas plan as a model. And it was a very, very productive meeting in which everyone that I had the opportunity to speak to looked back on that fondly and said, hey, we are in a good place. We are working collaboratively. This is a step in the right direction. Then comes December, in which information was submitted regarding the implementation of year one, in which there was a level of uncomfort or lack of satisfaction with regarding how that information was being reported. Fast forwarding into January, bringing the team together, I had the opportunity to go, as you know, on January 10th to a federal courthouse and listen to a judge receive feedback and give a statement, give a commitment to that judge regarding this district's expectation charged to me through the school board that we work collaboratively, we work with a high level of accountability, and we establish and implement a plan that will ensure that we are moving in the right direction. In looking at the work that we've done in January since returning from the break, this was an opportunity for me to look at the plan that was established and really ensure that we use the Pinellas plan as a model, but we just weren't taking the cover off one plan and putting a cover on another plan, but we were establishing our plan. It was an opportunity for us to problem solve. It was an opportunity for us to define barriers. And it was an opportunity for us really to establish a plan that was unique to Indian River School District, the students in the Indian River School District, the teachers in the Indian River School District, and designed in a way to address the needs of our unique community. And I think we are well on our way of establishing that plan. We are here today, and as you know, we've had the opportunity to dialogue and have discourse regarding the plan, make shifts and modifications based on your recommendations. I've had the opportunity to do that same process with school board members. They are in the process of review as well, and they will provide their feedback to me in the coming days and weeks. In February, which we're in the midst of, we will review the plan here today. Collectively, you are in the sunshine, opportunities to have the discourse and conversations around the plan. And then the end, February 25th, at our board meeting, we will seek approval, or I will seek approval by the school board to approve the plan. So what are some things that are different in regards to this plan? We have clearly defined through my words and my actions that this is a priority. There is a level of accountability that is in this plan. It is my priority to ensure any individual that is in this plan, their name appears in this plan, it will be part of their mid-year evaluation. We will sit and we will talk through the implementation of the steps that will influence the outcome or the improvement of the lives of children. This will be a transparent plan, as already mentioned. It will be on the website. The board will receive monthly updates regarding this plan. I will be here whenever this meeting is convened in order to provide an update as well. So there is no other way of implementing this plan other than being open, honest, and transparent. Each school will have specifically defined strategies, goals, and action steps built into their own school improvement plans. So very specific action steps to address the improvement of instructional services and support, and ultimately outcomes for African American students. We will conduct what we call data sessions. We're having one this Friday where we just don't talk about overall academic performance. Every principal will sit with me in cabinet and talk through their academic outcomes by subgroup and the plans that they're going to be taking in order to ensure that we are going to see the progress and we're providing the support needed in order to ensure we're hitting the marks that we've set for ourselves. Very direct and intentional school site visits and looking at the impact through what we call instructional reviews. So the team in classrooms evaluating the instruction, the implementation of the plans that school sites have developed in order to ensure that not only is the plan being developed, not only is the plan being implemented, but the plan is producing the impact and the results that we expect. And if it's not, we have the opportunity to shift or modify the plan in order to ultimately ensure success. The elimination of outdoor school suspension. We will take the steps to ensure that we are just not sending students home, that we are being proactive and we are in front of the maladaptive behaviors in which students need support in establishing and creating behaviors that lead to success. We will hold counselors and support staff accountable, ensuring that they are meeting with students on the front end, identifying any courses that they need to make up, making sure GPAs are where they need to be, not after the fact, not waiting for graduation rates to be released, but on a monthly basis, submit information through the principals to ensure student services and counselors are working with students in order to ensure the support is being provided. We will review tiered interventions for fidelity. As I've mentioned in a number of town hall meetings and speaking publicly, the percent of students identified as ESE is about 5% over the state average. When you drill down to the African American population, still a significantly high data point that we need to address. One of the ways that we need to begin to monitor or mine that data point is to look at the response to interventions, our RTI. Ensuring that we are providing those interventions with fidelity and not rushing to label a student because we haven't provided the appropriate level of support or intervention. We will hold ourselves accountable to making sure that we're doing that work correctly. The next steps, looking now, is we're having the conversation, looking forward to your feedback. They will take it to the board to begin implementation as soon as possible. We have a joint status report due to the court in March. July will be an opportunity for us. I am recommending that we come together when all of the data has been produced by the state, a day or two where we sit with a joint committee, school district personnel, NAACP, evaluate this plan, identify what has worked or what hasn't worked over the short time that we have to implement with the time of the year that is left. And then design a new plan moving into the next school year. And I'll say it again. If it is the same plan that goes to the board over the summer, then we've done the wrong work. We've just went through the process. But if we're truly implementing with fidelity, if we're truly holding ourselves accountable, if we're truly having transparent and open conversations, the plan will begin to morph. The plan will begin to become significantly more specific. There'll be shifts in assignments and responsibilities based on what we learn as we implement. So after we do that, we will establish a new plan, have a similar meeting here, following a similar process that we just followed over the course of the last month now, to establish the new plan. September, once again, a joint report is due. Prior to September, we will have that plan approved by our school board. And then December, we will have a collective one-voice plan that we submit to the court regarding the year of implementation that we're just now beginning. This is an opportunity for us, as mentioned, to be accountable and hold ourselves transparent. So this is the example of the progress report, which will be part of the home page when you look online regarding the African American Achievement Plan. I want the world to know the work that we are going to do. This is a sample that has the goal areas. I know you all are familiar with our goal areas, the progress measures, the frequency, and the rate of progress over the course of time, ultimately looking at a 3-year trend, and then the implementation progress measures throughout the course of the year of implementation, and then the ultimate outcome. This will be a progress report that grows. This holds us accountable for the work that we've done over the last 3 years as we pull the data, as we populate the data, as we move from a draft to full implementation, identifies the systems or the progress data points that are available. We produce it. So in the plan, we're being explicit. There is data that I am accountable to produce for this school board, data that I'm accountable to produce to you in this community once a month. It will come once a month. It will be up once a month. That will allow us to learn from implementation or shift or modify practice once a month. So this has been a lot of work. This has been very, very exciting work. This is work that attracted me to Indian River School District. I'm excited to have the opportunity to lead a team who is ready to get to work. But the rubber meets the road in implementation. I've always said my goal is to be an implementation expert. A resource can be okay, a plan can be okay. You win and you change and improve the quality of lives of children based on implementation. So this is the process that we have followed. This is the plan that we have established. I am ready to begin to get to work, ready to ensure that every step that we are taking as a district, it is transparent, we are accountable, we hold ourselves accountable, and we are transparent in doing this work collectively to have a positive impact on this community. Closing thoughts. In addition to your feedback, I will have the opportunity in the coming weeks to take this plan outside of this district office, take it to the community, and once again, seek input. Provide an update regarding this commitment that this school board has, and this district staff has, and principal has. I will be meeting with principals towards the end of the month, once the plan is approved, changing their paradigm regarding my expectation to ensure this plan is being implemented. So I thank you, each and every single one of you, for your support and your help and your commitment to the children of Indian River, and we're looking forward to working together to implement this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do any of the members do you guys have any comments or questions for Dr. Moore?
Well, first, I just want to thank Dr. Moore for meeting with each one of us. I think that was truly valuable throughout the process, so I certainly appreciate that. And I will say that I believe that this is going to be a priority moving forward this year, so I think it's great.
Dr. Moore, I also thank you for allowing me to sit in and meet with you and share. And I just from your PowerPoint, I see that you did include some of the suggestions and input that I gave you. I'm continuing to read and kind of digest this document. And each time I read it, I do find something else that I think we can tweak a little bit. So you will hear from me, because I will be getting back with you with additional, input.
Absolutely, and I encourage, I know it is now with the appendix that we have added based on the feedback, it is a lengthy plan.
Yeah.
It's not lengthy in implementation steps, it's lengthy in our desire to be transparent. And when great minds come around or together around a complex problem, you continue to learn. And to be very honest, in the work that I've done in continuous improvement, this is a model that we are implementing here where we're solving problems. And we're producing a collective document based on the input that I have received. And some of the input that I've received from the chair allowed me to look at things from a different paradigm, from a different angle. And I said, you know what? You're right. We need to shift or modify that. Now it becomes better based on the collective information and commitment that we all collectively have. So what I would proffer is at a certain point, we will have to lock the document. And when I say lock the document, that means we receive your feedback. I'll push out the information. This is the final plan. Once I take it to the school board for approval, once I submit it and make it a public document and take the draft off, it will remain that way until
Plan to do that?
February 25th.
Okay.
But
so-
let me, in the item you will see, this is the plan that's being approved. The narrative of the item will say, as soon as the plan is approved, it becomes unlocked and will continue to grow and be modified moving forward. Very similar, as Mr. Taylor would know, when school improvement plans, you freeze it, so you're approving one document, and what a board member and community reviews that is publicly noticed and produced doesn't change without having the revisions. The second it is approved, it will be posted on our webpage. And as I've said to each of you, if it is not changing, if it is not modifying, we're not doing this work correctly. If it stays the same, that means it's probably just sitting on a shelf. So my goal is to put a plan up there that we're coming together each and every single month. You'll hear the opportunity for me to speak to the school board saying, this is the data point I'm reporting on this month. It is not what we wanted. We wanted to have the percent of students identified for gifted tested increase by X percent. These are the shifts in practice that I am taking in order to ensure next month those numbers go up. And I want to have that point of accountability and those levels of conversation as frequently as possible, which is once a month. So implementation steps will change. So we will have it approved, but by doing this work collectively, it will begin to create a new plan for us.
Well, I would like to thank you for meeting with me a number of times, and I will own the lengthy appendix. That was mainly just being data-driven. I kind of want to have that information, so if parents or anyone in the community want to see exactly how our students are doing on each grade level versus each race. I know that this is between black and white students, but it helps us to compare students who have English as a second language and see that, oh, wait a minute, they are faring better than black students who have English as a native language. And that just goes deeper to like looking at, okay, well, what support can we put in place? What support do they have? So I thank you for taking that into consideration. And then I think there was something else that I discussed with him, and that was the charter information being in here.
Inclusive.
Because the charter is a part of the desegregation order, and although our superintendent is not over the charter schools, our school board is, and they are a part of public schools. So to you all, we have to decide exactly how we are going to go about with the charter. Their information should be included. So, Chris, you are the liaison for the charter school. Do we invite them to do a presentation for us, or do we request that they submit their hiring and recruitment and achievement information? Like, how would you suggest?
So we can certainly ask them to come. We can send them an invite to come and give them, expectations of what we want them to discuss at the meeting. And, we want you to discuss X, Y, Z and have a conversation. And if they show up, they show up, but they can at least submit it to us for us to review. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because I know that their application includes.
Especially in the
yeah,
recruitment and the employment.
Yeah.
So I would like to say, I think we all can agree, this is a very important document. This is going to drive a lot of the work of not only of the school district, but of this committee. This is the last time we meet before it goes before the board at the end of the month. And of course, we cannot talk about it unless we're in this forum. So I would encourage my fellow members to have the conversation now before, we leave here. So if there's anything concerns or anything we want to talk about, now is the time to do it. So I would just encourage that conversation. So.
So I want to just take a moment really quickly to acknowledge Dr. Moore. I really do appreciate you allowing us to come to you. I know that you have so many competing interests and initiatives, but your time with us really makes it feel like this is a true priority. And thank you for your time and all that you're doing for our district.
So for me, when I was looking at the document, I felt that there needed to be a lot of information in there so parents could understand. Like the first thing that I addressed was the definitions. I felt some of them were not friendly for like the literary level of the parents that would be receiving this document.
Layman's terms.
Yes,
A
and
little
so
bit
it
more.
has since been simplified, in my opinion, but if you all feel like there's a definition or something that is a concern for you. Then the other thing was, there was a lot of data that I felt should have been in here in the initial that wasn't, but then once having talked to him and learned that the monthly reports and the scorecard is going to be online and that would speak to all the data that I was looking for, I felt better in that aspect because then parents really don't have to read this entire document to decipher where the information is. They can go to the data, the scorecard, or just those reports and get that information.
Madam Chair, may I add, there is a website now with Equity Office on there that does have this document, or will have this document, and there's also other data on there that this stuff will be added to. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that is online now.
And what were your concerns, Ms. Sanders? You said that,
Well, some of the concerns that, some of the action steps were a little bit difficult to understand, okay? And some of the acronyms and so terminology, but we kind of talked about that, to spell it out. Many times when, laymen or
yeah.
parents specifically, if you got, ELA, what does ELA stand for? Altros, there was some terms that I would have liked to see spelled out. And the more I read the document, I'm always constantly coming up with something else that I see that can be improved. So what I'll do, Dr. Moore, is I will go through it a final time, okay? And then I will call you, okay, and see if I can schedule to come in, because I would like to just meet with you to discuss those things before you do your final draft for the school board. So, but, initially I felt like, there were a lot of acronyms that needed to actually, be spelled out. And then some of the completion items, like sign-in sheets and agendas and so forth, I think we needed to expand on.
So you want to see more actionable, evidence-based?
Yes, okay, I would, especially because you can provide professional development, okay? You can provide that, right? But that doesn't mean that the person is going to take that development back into the classroom and utilize it with the students. And that's the ultimate goal, right? We want them to be able to take it back. But then, of course, he did address that they're going to have observations, okay? So that's a great
Just to
thing.
say it, and that was a great conversation. This is not a implementation plan. This is the action that will be taken in order to influence the outcome. Because we are frequently evaluating the outcome, we have opportunities to determine if the implementation is influencing the outcome. So we are not going into schools looking for, did you show me the sign-in sheet? Oh, you have the sign-in sheet, good. Well, that's the minimum expectation.
That's minimal.
To remain employed, you will do that. Then we will look at the evidence, the outcome. If we're doing something on on unimplicit bias, we've conducted that for all principals. Are we seeing a shift or change in behavior based on that implementation step?
Exactly.
If we provided a professional development or an implementation step to monitor outdoor suspensions, are we seeing a reduction in out-of-school
Outdoor
suspensions? I used the wrong language. I used Miami language, sorry. So it is just not looking at, did you implement the plan? That means nothing.
That's right.
But based on the implementation, are we seeing shifts and improvements in the culture and academic performance.
So we all want the same thing. That's
Yeah, yes.
exactly what, that's what I'm
We
looking
want those
for.
outcomes.
Okay, outcomes. So everything's either data-driven now or outcomes, okay? That's how it works.
Absolutely, thank you.
You know, as I reviewed it, one thing that I noticed is that there are a lot of items in here that are going to create policies and procedures that I think are important. So a lot of them you'll see create or develop procedures or a plan. I think that's good because then we're starting to look at, hey, this is a problem, how are we going to address it, how are we going to problem solve, and then come back to the table and implement those plans. So that's one thing that stuck out to me when I reviewed the plan.
Ms. Pender, do you have any comments, questions, concerns?
No, when I spoke with Dr. Moore, my concerns, I was looking at the implementation.
Ms. Pender, can you use your microphone? Sorry.
The implementation, I'm thinking it's a lot of information here.
Yes.
And I know there's going to be resistance to a point, but I
Are you
feel-
talking about school staff or
It's-
district
it's-
staff?
Yes, you know, because it's new, and when we see new things, we.
People resist
You know, you
change.
resist, you
Yeah.
know, we don't like change. But if they're willing to work with the body, it will work. Because we really need to do, because I see a lot of things with the children at Days of Hope, straight up,
Yeah.
that we need to address, that I have been fussing about with them there. And I think maybe if we get this together, we will be able to do something good, and especially the suspensions and stuff, because I don't believe in that.
Well, I just want to apologize to you two ladies for coming in and Levon and being bombarded with all of this information. When Chris and I started, we did sections, you know, but in the end, we were kind of bombarded.
At
'cause
the
that
end,
last-
we were, yeah.
Yeah, that last
We've
meeting.
learned from last year, I think.
We have, you know, so you're getting all this information at once. And the good thing about this plan and Dr. Moore is that now we're not fishing for this information. Last year, we fished for a lot of information, and this year it's gonna be readily available, and not only will we have it, the community will have it. And also, different recommendations that we recommended as a equity committee are in this document as well. So some of them you may say, oh, well, this doesn't go to the achievement gap, but it was a recommendation on behalf of the equity committee. And I would just like to say, speak to that we're not starting from scratch where we're going back to this document and figuring out, we've recommended stuff and we'll continue to build upon it. So I'll make sure that Ms. Davis get you all the recommendations, because I don't know, did they receive that, the end of the year PowerPoint?
It's online, but we can,
Okay, so that you can have that, so you can see what was recommended, what the board
I
was
ha- I
okay
have
with,
it.
and
I
then we
have it.
move forward, so when we're
have it.
discussing things, okay.
The committee report, that's, yeah, we have it.
So just before you move on to the next time, I know you have other items to discuss. Just want to publicly thank the team who engaged in this work and had a sense of openness and commitment to really establishing and developing a plan. It really was the first work I did come January 6th. So sitting and working through with a group of educators who really desire to get it right, in some ways desire to be empowered, to have the opportunity to have the influence they need in schools and provide the support they need to have in schools. A lot of work has gone into it. It has been open and honest conversation. I believe the team sees and understands the complexity of the problem that we are collectively facing, and just wanted to acknowledge the work that they did in putting together this plan. And they're always with a smile, because each and every single time I met with each of you, not only did I have your input, I added things as well. So I know they're like, oh my gosh, how many times is he going to change this plan? but the plan got better every single time, and they were just champs in saying, okay, oh, that makes sense, that's good, that's right, and that team, it really is, although they may be employed by this district and work for me, they are in service of your collective, our collective belief, and are looking forward to getting this work done.
Thank you, team.
Thank you.
So did anybody, as they're going through, did they see any items that were missing that they would like to have added to it, or is there anything glaring, just so, just have a conversation about anything that, that somebody thought, hey, this is a good idea to add in here?
Under barriers, I requested that need for additional academic support for African-American students to obtain mastery be added. And then also,
That's on page 4?
Yes,
Barriers is
that's
on
phase 4.
and then there was one that I requested that I don't think it has been added yet, let me. So, develop a learner profile and personalized learning plan for all Black students who are not on track to graduate. And then the evidence of completion would be percentage of Black students who are not on track who have personalized plans.
Page reading.
What page?
What page?
Oh, that's not in there.
Hasn't been added.
No, I don't think so, but I haven't had time to look through it, so. But like my main focus was just having the numbers out there so that parents can see. And so now that I know that, some of those things will be updated monthly, then that's, it suffices. Were there things that you?
No, I just wanted to hear from the committee, so.
I think we need to start working on this plan, with any plan, you're gonna be able to tweak it
Exactly.
and add additional things.
'Cause
to
it is a
but
living
we-
document.
But the work needs to start, we need to start working.
Okay, so there was one thing that I didn't say anything to them about, and I just realized that I have it here. And I know I'm a pain, but, so the target removal, student discipline, 17%. So I was looking at the, white removal is 6%, I think. And so to me, 17% is still a
Extremely
lot.
high. That's
Right,
extremely
considering
high.
it's 17% of the student population and compared to 6%, so,
I mean, that made me wonder when I read that is what infractions are occurring that's causing children to be suspended at such a high rate? That's a question that came to my mind. I mean, LaVon, do you have any idea? What are some of the infractions?
I heard that noise, LeBron has an
What's
idea.
happening that students are being suspended at such a high rate? What are they being suspended for? What types of things? Somebody.
Through the chair, a better question may be to ask what things are not happening.
Okay, well, answer that one then.
okay.
What's not happening, right?
A, it's a mind shift. B, it's ensuring we have systems in place in front of the behavior that typically would, in previous years, in a previous leadership, require a consequence. A number of the consequences, both in the state and across the nation under that model, do not change or modify the behavior.
Right.
And if we are using a system that across the nation we know does not work, suspension. Long ago, we would send parents home or students home to their mother who was home while the father was at work to be disciplined. And the family would discipline the child or whatever the case may be. Now, parents are at work. There may be no one to watch the child. And that isn't anything new to us. It's been realized across the nation. The opportunity to shift or modify a behavior happens on the front end. So how are we using student services? How are we using interventions? How are we ensuring that we are getting to kids using early warning indicators to say, you know what, the data is telling us that if we don't work with you now, historically, that data, that research is saying you may not graduate. And if we know that now in ninth grade, what are we doing on that end versus waiting to the 11th grade or 12th grade to put you in a remediation course or to get FSA remediation or refer, not allowing you to graduate? So it really is being proactive, providing the development to principals after we establish the belief that we will not use a progressive discipline plan that has proven not to change or improve behaviors.
So I'll just answer your question generally, and I'll piggyback on what Dr. Moore said. So we're working on a code of conduct right now, so we're trying to, update it and modify it for the upcoming school year. And working with a couple of assistant principals, and one of them made the quote, the punishment needs to be more severe than the behavior in order for the student to understand. So that's the kind of mindset in some ways that we're working with. That's been their held belief, but that doesn't mean that we can't guide them toward change. And that's what I think Dr. Moore is gonna hold them accountable for.
If you've done something for years and it's not working, that
Right.
should tell you, I need to change and, start, thinking about, as a teacher.
Right.
And I've been a teacher, okay? If I have a student, okay, I know that student. First of all, I need to develop a relationship with that student, okay? I know when his behavior is getting ready to change. There are warning signs, okay? So the interventions, I need to come up with a plan in my mind, okay? That when Michonne comes in this morning, okay, all right, she may go off and start kicking and tearing things up. What am I going to do, okay? I need to greet her, okay? I need to help her start her day out, find out how she's feeling today, okay? But I need to do some intervention, because if not, I'm gonna spend a lot of time with her. Other children are gonna miss out on learning, because I can't teach, because I've got behavior concerns. Or I'm gonna have to send her to the office, and she's still not gonna get any instructional time, okay? So there are some things that we need to do, instructional staff need to do. They need to have some strategies, some interventions. Maybe they just don't have, I know they don't teach it in college like they should, but they just don't have, the expertise in how to manage behaviors and interventions and so forth.
So I think that's gonna come forth with some additional professional development. I see you saying.
I just can't not say it, but
Sure.
please let that assistant principal know that the superintendent of this district has been a principal of 3 different high schools where the lowest free and reduced lunch rate was 94%. And we haven't suspended a student for the last 5 years. So you will not convince me that giving a more harsh punishment is a better way of being proactive and being in front of it. Does it require training and procedures? Absolutely, yes, it does. But I will not be a part of what I know doesn't work. So there is a transition, and there's a shift in mindset. But at the same time, as we make that shift, I will be unwavering in my belief because I've seen it work. Now, let me be transparent. When we did this in Miami, we went from what do you call it, Chris?
Out of school.
Out of school suspension to no out of school suspension. And we didn't take the time to establish the shift and change of behavior and practice and support systems. And there were some bumps we had to get through, but we got through them. So what I have learned in shifting that mindset is not to go from one to none, but really to put it in place to change the mindsets and have the systems of support in place so that we will get there quickly.
Thank you.
So now, just to come back to what Michonne was saying about
On
the
page
percentage.
29.
29.
So for, on this chart, it has office discipline referrals, so this is just referrals. It's 13% for white,
White.
non-Hispanic, and then 28% for African-American, non-Hispanic. And they included the number of students, so you can kind of see in relation to. So there's 3 times as many white, non-Hispanic students as black students, yet black students are disciplined 2 times, or even more than 2 times as much. So that's why I asked, like, was the percentage reflecting the percentage of the African-American enrollment a good mark, you know, because even still, I think that's almost like three times more, you know. But you know, I can't do my math right now. My computer doesn't have a calculator for me to do what I was trying.
It is, if you round
Yeah,
it.
if
it's
you
three
round it,
times.
it's 3 times.
What is your question?
I don't have, just saying, for the 17%, like, is that a good goal? You know, and is that, this is for overall, all time, or is that, the mark for this first year, like,
So through the chair, and I'm not looking at the data set.
Okay.
One of my frustrations that I think you all are problem solving through right now is that this is February.
yeah,
And the opportunity for me to have influence between now and a lot of this data sets, I want to be held accountable from implementation, start date to the end of the year, and really super excited about the plan for next year, where we will have the most aggressive goals that we set for ourselves. I mean, I wasn't here when this committee started talking about one of the things they've done, as the board has done, is very, very aggressive goals to confront our reality, ultimately to improve it as quickly as possible. So some of it is, it's just the timing, but we will have aggressive goals moving forward when we have a full time of implementation.
okay. Okay, any more comments? Do we now go to the public? So now we have public input. If anyone wants to speak about it or ask questions about the plan, you may do so.
Madam Chair, before we do that, I just remind the committee that we set a 3-minute time, and I will keep time, right? I think that's what everybody
Yes.
voted.
Yes.
I think I was the only dissent vote on that, but at 3 minutes, I'll be saying time, so just,
Good evening. My name is Dr. Deborah Taylor Long. I just have a question about the appendix. It's a lot of data here, but there's no narrative to even help parents to understand this data. So what are your plans for ensuring that when parents do get this appendix and it's, or the public or the community and it's online, they're looking at a bunch of numbers, but there is no narrative to help them understand what the numbers mean. So is there a plan to help the community understand that better?
Through the chair. The answer to the question is yes. One of the things that we're going to add is where the data that we have initially embedded in the 3-year trend for each goal, there will be an asterisk that pulls you and gives a descriptor that supports it at a deeper level. So rather than having a 80-page plan with all of that data, we want to provide the district historical trend over 3 years, the baseline review, and then say, in our desire to be completely transparent, you can see the grade level distribution in there. So that narrative will be embedded into the plan.
Anyone else? You have more? No? Okay. Okay, so we will move to our next agenda item, which is recruitment. Do we have that to put up, the recruitment data? To put on the,
yes, I think we do. Mrs. Davis will just need a second to set it up. You have a copy?
Okay, so that is the recruitment schedule. And if we go down to number 9,
Madam Chair, can I suggest we start with where we are now? With,
Teachers by race and ethnicity.
yes. And then look at, because we're gonna be, where are we now, and then what do we need? And to me, looking at the recruitment goes after where we are now.
so then we're starting with teacher by race and ethnicity.
Yes.
So does this only include the schools that are on the other chart here?
So basically, this includes all of the schools, and it just goes for, I think this is the district.
So this is teacher by race and ethnicity. So the top would be your teachers, the bottom would be your students. So for example, for race, for Hispanic, we have 64 Hispanic Latinos teachers, 1,043 white, and then going across.
Yeah, but she's trying to figure out if it's for the entire county, because it doesn't say it, yeah.
So I'm asking,
District.
does this include the
This.
29 locations that's on this one?
I would assume so, yes.
That this is the summary.
Yes,
Yes, it looks like the numbers match up, yeah.
yes, 115, okay.
Okay, so we have 22.5% Hispanic student population and only 5% teachers, Hispanic teachers. Then for African American, we have 17.5%, and it says that we have 10% African American teachers. And I would like to have a roster on that, because when we went through that data, I don't think it was 10%.
Well, if you look down here at the school by school, and you see there's 115 African-American teachers total, and then out of a total of 1174, it is roughly about 10%.
And I would like to see their names.
Okay.
Like to see, because when we were looking at it, there were some names that were not African American that was on.
So,
Yes.
so to clarify, what you're asking for is a list of African-American teachers by school. You want a roster of the 6
Yes.
African-American teachers at ACE, the 5 African-American teachers at Citrus. That's what you
Citrus.
want. You want the
Yes.
teachers by school,
High school,
Yes.
yes,
only African-American.
yes. Because that, remember we had that discussion about race and ethnicity, so there were Hispanic teachers that were classified as as black on the thing, and so we had to
They're
go.
Hispanic black
Right,
slash black.
right, so we
yeah.
had to go dig a little deeper and say, okay, ethnicity, African, and that's when we were able to get like a better, roster.
So, you know, it's my understanding that a teacher can, or first ask their ethnicity, right? Are you Hispanic, yes or no? And then they're asked for the race. So a teacher could be Hispanic and African American. So what you're seeing here is their self-disclosure as African American as 10%. So they're one and the same. So
Well, what they're doing is saying black, not African, what we're here for African American, which is ethnicity. Black is the race, and that's where we were finding the thing, because you could be black and Hispanic, but not be African American. So that's the distinguishing factor that we're dealing with the roster, and that's what we went through. I want to say like our 4th meeting, we got deeper, because at first we did request race, and that's when we went through the names. We were like, wait a minute, this person is Hispanic, and then it was cleared up that we needed to request ethnicity in order to really get African American what we're looking for.
Okay, so you're just looking for just black,
African American,
African American?
yes.
Okay, we
Which
will,
would be ethnicity.
I would have to talk to HR
Yeah,
to
how does
see.
the district-
Yeah, can we have a representative from HR?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Edwina Suit, and African American is not an ethnicity. African American Black is a race, according to federal guidelines for reporting. Hispanic or Latino is an ethnicity. So someone can be Hispanic or Latino and claim also that they're African American or Black, or they can claim that they're Hispanic, Latino, and white, or Hispanic, Latino, and Asian. So there is a difference between ethnicity and race. So we can get you the list of a roster of African American Black teachers, because that is considered a race. Is that what I'm hearing that you want that by school? We can pull that.
Yes.
But those choices are made by the employee when they come here. They self-select whatever they feel that they are. So, and we can certainly get that information for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm looking it up.
Oh, I was wondering what you're typing over there.
When would
But you know,
would
that
you
is
need about the
consistent.
next meeting or prior to the next meeting?
That
Probably
list-
prior to the next meeting, but we discussed this, and when we went back and did ethnicity, there were, people that was listed on the race Black that wasn't on there when we did ethnicity, so that's why.
So we will review, I think that's
Yeah,
good.
I
We
mean,
will
I
review
could go
and-
back and look at those minutes, and, yeah.
And that, yeah, we'll make sure that information is available before the March 5th
Okay.
meeting. You know, of course, if you read the African American Achievement Plan, you will see that the overall goal for recruitment is for the district to have at least 17% African American teachers in the classroom, and currently we're at 10. So that is a goal of ours, to increase the recruitment of African American teachers here.
Okay, and then the next slide is the instructional ethnicity and race by location.
So when we look at this, there are two schools that just jump out at you right away that really don't even have one African-American teacher, not even one, okay? And I just noticed that. My son went to Beachland, okay? And I know at that time we did have one, okay? But now we don't even have one, so I think that really needs to be a priority.
Agreed.
100%.
And then you have a few that just have one.
One.
Yeah.
So again, the goal is to have 17% African American teachers, so we definitely have some work to do.
Okay, so are you ready for the recruitment trip now?
Yes.
Just a point of clarification, are we going for 17% across the district, or do we want to make it a little bit more similar to what the demographics are of each school?
Demographics of the school was my understanding. If I can see if
I think you're right. We'll have to. I believe it's at each school.
So that might be helpful to see.
So the recruitment trips, you'll see the, of course, the event, who went, number of offers, and the budget that we spent at each
Okay.
trip. And we have several scheduled.
You see the column that says results, number of hires, so
Yeah.
we did not hire anyone?
Correct, but yes, so they went up, to give you an example, the top one, they went in September, they had 0 offers and 0 hires, correct.
Okay. Even the 6 offers, we didn't even get 1 hire from that.
And some of those offers could be for the 2021 school year as well. So not necessarily for this, recruiting for next year as well. So if we get an offer, hopefully we can bring them in at least next year. But Madam Chair, may I?
Hi, Mike Smeltzer with Human Resources. The recruiting trips that we're doing now really are for next school year. So some of them are in process. We do have letters of intent out for individuals for next school year, but they have not been hired as of yet, technically.
Thank you.
That clears it up.
So as we get closer to June, hopefully we have more hires.
So have any of these schools that they visited, have any of them come here to?
That'd be Mr. Smeltzer.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the
Of the
question.
schools that they visited, have any of the students come here?
We have
At
offered,
this district yet?
yeah, we have offered. I personally went to Edward Waters College, and there was one student there. It was a wonderful candidate. I've invited him to come here, put out there, what can we do to, facilitate this. He's right now in the middle of his student teaching, so it's kind of hard to do that, but we're in contact with him, and we're trying to get him. That's just one example, so,
So it's constant contact, it's not meeting them once, it's the follow
Right.
through as well. Okay.
most definitely.
And we do have a internal job fair on March 13th. Last year, I believe we had a lot of good candidates from that as well, so we're looking forward to that again. So just so noticing, I do see that we're going to historically black colleges and universities, both in and out of state. We have some out of state as well, so we've done a good job of in-state so far. Then I think towards the spring, we're going to start going out of state.
I have a question. Have we utilized any of the African-American alumni from any of the historically black colleges and universities?
So that is a very good question. I think that is in the African American Achievement Plan. I'll have to look and make sure, but I believe it's contacting sororities, fraternities, and as well as working with alumni groups. I'll have to, give me a second, I can see if it's in there, but I think that's a very good point, so.
I mean, it's in there, but she's asking, have they? So I guess like now, we know that it's planned, but have you all?
Because what, graduations, May, so, yeah, end of April, May, so we need to be reaching out.
We did have difficulty getting in touch with the recruitment director person at FAMU, so we did reach out to someone, and he got us in touch with the correct person so that we could get to FAMU. Edward Waters has been very difficult. It had been very difficult for us to get in touch with someone there. And this year was the first year that they really had a big fair where students were there. So we also used someone to try to get some help with getting contacts there. Bethune-Cookman, we have Dr. Long.
Because usually
I
alumni
said-
can
yeah,
actually get you through the door.
Bethune-Cookman, we
you
have
know?
Dr. Long. She's very active. Yeah, and Tyrone Parks, that's right. So, yes, we have been doing that. And it is in the plan to work with fraternities and sororities to get more people involved with trying to help with recruitment as well as mentoring new teachers to the district, so.
That was, so you have worked with the sororities and fraternities, or
Not
you
yet,
are planning to?
not yet.
Okay.
But that's in the plan
Okay.
for us to do that as well, so.
Do you have any idea how long, what month you're going to start, begin that process?
What date is in there? Do you remember?
So it's under action step 4.22. The date is to have, a good plan in place by May 1st. So
Right.
the idea is, that doesn't mean, start at May 1st. I mean,
No,
everything
but
has to be
we'll-
done by
yeah.
May 1st.
But we
So the-
discussed this last year. We discussed this last year. So just because this plan is now saying May 1st, we discussed this last year. Like, so should have been something already kind of happening. When we spoke with you all, I think it was March last year when we had that special meeting. It was discussed.
Sororities and fraternities?
Yes, because it was in the joint plan. Like, those are the things that were in the A through M
Well, I don't
steps.
recall that. I remember the mentoring piece
I don't think
that we've been working
sororities
with.
and fraternities.
I
are
don't
in-
believe so either.
Hold on.
I know the mentoring was.
So if memory serves me correct, I thought that was a equity committee recommendation to do. I think that's when we went before the school board in October. I don't believe that
It is,
in
when we
the plan.
talked about the historically black colleges, Mr. Brown was the one that suggested that the sororities and,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not in the plan, so I think that's what when we made a recommendation to the school board in October, that was a part of that group of recommendations. So that's why that was inputted into this plan.
This plan.
So,
but we had also spoke with HR and Dr. Suit about that in the meeting.
No, we spoke about mentors because Ms. Dampier was there as well. We were speaking about mentors, retired African-American teachers to try to get them to mentor our new teachers to the district.
And we talked about recruitment, because that was that meeting.
yeah, I'll be honest, I don't
I
remember
don't
that
recall that
conversation.
either.
I would have to go through the minutes, but I just remember that.
Do you remember Dr. Long? Yes. Yeah, because I know Mr. Brown brought up how you were part of a sorority and that we should work with HR in order for the sororities and HR to work together to get recruits.
I'm certainly going to contact the career placement office at my
Okay,
my
That's great.
school. Yeah.
I
and-
appreciate it. I appreciate
and
your
s-
willingness to help
Because
us
I know
out.
that, we have an education program there, and I know they have several, it's in Georgia, but they have several students who actually go into early
What
childhood.
part of Georgia?
Augusta.
Augusta,
Mhm.
okay. Okay.
Be great.
I'll reach out to them and,
Or if you want to reach out to me, we can find out if they're having any fairs, and then
Okay.
we can send somebody up there too.
Thank you.
Payne College.
What's the name of the college?
Payne, P-A-I-N-E. Yes.
Do you all have any other questions about recruitment trips or any suggestions for other colleges that our human resources should look out to in the area?
No, ma'am.
None of this time.
Okay, so we see here the travel so far has been $62.58. And with dues and fees, what are dues and fees?
I'm sure oftentimes events may have a fee to set up a booth and to participate.
Is that it, the dues and fees? It says $13,947.
Mr. Taylor is correct. Most of the events that we go to, we have to pay a fee to go to the event. So sometimes it's $200, $250. The diversity in education membership was probably about $2,600 alone. We also have subscriptions with Ed Week, so we can post our jobs on there. We also post with the Florida Association of School Administrators, so of course they charge, so nothing is free. Even when we go down to, and you can see them on the side where it says events, you can see like when we went to FAMU, it was $450 just for the event, just to go, just to have a table. So that's what the dues and fees, and that includes diversity in ed. It includes Ed Week as well.
Could we get, I guess, itemized of that? Because my concern is that our travel is, like, it's double our travel. And maybe we could evaluate to see if it's even effective, like, for us with some of these things. Because if we're paying a lot to attend the event and we're not getting a return, like, are we getting a return on our investment?
So, Madam Chair, are you just looking for a breakdown of what we spend on diversity in education or Society for Human Resource Management? Is that what you're looking at, just a price?
So just a breakdown for the dues and fees that totaled $13,947.
Oh, yeah, we can get that for you,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, just to see, like, if are we getting a return on our investment? Of course, we won't know until the end of the year to see.
Right.
If they come.
Yeah, if they come, you know, but yeah, but if we could just
And
look
like
at that.
diversity in ed, we pay the membership, but then for their virtual fair, it's another $500 that we pay for that, yes. So,
Do they offer you any other services to help?
but
or,
what they
like-
do is they actually pull from our job postings. Every job posting goes to diversity in ed. Every job posting goes to Education Week, so it automatically pulls it. And then for the Society for Human Resource Management, we do those individually because those are more specific. The Florida Association of School Administrators, we bought, I think it was 4 or 5, but we can get that for you. And we use them as we need them for administrators in the district. But it is expensive to pay for because they all want an upfront fee, and it's just basically to get your table there. And then we bring all of our stuff to decorate or whatever, so. And then, of course, we have to send people, and it depends on how far they have to travel. Some people prefer to drive, some people want to fly, you know, it does take a lot to put all of this together. And, you know, publicly, I'd like to thank all the people who have agreed to take time away from their family and their responsibilities here in the district to go on the recruitment trips to represent us, so. But we can certainly get that for you.
Thank you. And then I think the last one is, well, I'm not sure what it,
So this is the document that has letters of intent on it. There it is. So this has a number of letters of intent we've given at each job fair, and then by race. So for example, at the SDRC job fair, we gave 4 out, 3 to white, 1 to African American black.
Okay, so
Is this current for this school year?
I don't know,
What is-
but
what are
this
the
is
dates?
funny. So we went to a job fair at Edward Waters in Bethune-Cookman.
And nobody,
It's incorrect. I'm like, what?
I know, that no bites.
Okay,
So what's,
What's the correct number?
so it was a black, African-American, okay.
It was
Like, we went to two
So,
HBCUs.
you
but-
gotta, that's funny.
Yeah.
Bethune is African American as well? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good catch, Madam Chair.
Then that was hilarious, actually. Education meet and greet at In River State College. That went pretty good. Did you all have to pay to attend that?
It looks like $25 for the event. Total expenses was just over $30. So.
Yeah, so that's about average,
Yeah,
25.
25,
Is-
yeah.
Yeah, I think those
25.
450, that's
Yeah.
a bit inflated, but, you know, for a table, 25 is
Yeah.
usually.
Fortunately, if we want to go to, I agree with you. I'm shocked by 450 at
Well,
FAMU,
these
but if we have to,
Florida A&M University, so, you know, you have to pay to be.
we want to bring good candidates here, so.
Right, you know, in that environment, so. Hey, Wildcat. Okay, yeah, so it looks like, Indian River State College,
Did very well.
yeah, they did very well. So do you all have any comments or concerns or questions pertaining to recruitment? Any suggestions?
I would love to see data from some of the colleges in Florida as to the number of students they have in their education program.
In general.
Okay, yes. I'm just gonna see if we can locate that data, because that would be, you know, that'd give us an idea.
Give us something.
Okay.
Who's available?
Yeah,
What
what's
the pool
available.
is?
So you're looking at the graduating class, so how many graduating educators FAMU produces?
Yes.
Yes.
And Cookman as well.
So you like to see the data for graduating education majors
Yes,
at Florida schools or Florida HBCUs?
HBCUs.
Okay.
You might have that. That would be great. I would like to see that.
For teachers or incoming teachers, do we have any type of prep to assist with them with getting certification? Because I know that we have a certification issue in the state of Florida with teachers passing the exam. Like, do we offer any additional support here?
I'm looking at Mike Smeltzer, see.
Through professional development, we have like an alternative certification program. And with their tests, like if it's, let's say, general knowledge test and they're struggling in the math part, they do offer tutoring for those.
Okay. Does that,
Come on up.
I
Does
believe
that
there's
fulfill-
tutoring, like on
Yes.
the weekend for teachers that might not, general education test, I
is
believe
that
there's
like
tutoring.
does that suffice for temporarily, or does that mean like now they're state certified and
It is to help them in pursuit of their state certification requirement. So yes, it does meet the requirement. And not only does the PD department work with them and tutor them, but we also last year brought in an outside group called Ed Camp, where they have a very high rate of support, where they are successful in helping teachers pass the certification exams. So we did bring them in as well as an additional support piece to our participants in the alternative certification program, which we refer to as ACP.
Do you have any idea how many people that you supported were able to pass the exam after?
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but we have them. I could pull those for you, for sure.
What perks do you offer? If
As for getting any recruits here,
Yes, to get
what incentives do we
Mhm.
offer to get here? So
Incentives,
I'm gonna look
something
back
to-
at HR again, incentives. I think part of the, while Mr. Smelser walks up here, or whomever, part of the recruitment
Yeah,
plan.
other than of the beach, okay, 'cause that's a good incentive, but
So-
other than being near the beach.
So currently, the only incentive we offer is an annual salary. Yes,
While
ma'am.
you're answering that, do you have any idea where they go, when they're graduating, where they go? Like, who are we competing against? What
that's it,
areas?
Really, the major urban areas, Miami-Dade, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville. You can have Mickey or you can have the beach. Yeah. So really, that is our biggest competitions.
And unfortunately, when we sometimes go to the large recruiting events, they place us in the middle, and you have Hillsborough over here and Miami-Dade over here. And before they can get down the aisle to you, Hillsborough is like, here's your contract. And they don't even,
Get to
so,
you.
we have spoken with Dr. Moore. I've been advocating for a couple of years that letters of intent are not really helping us with this. And so he is working with us to see if we can actually offer open contracts. It is not set in stone yet, but I have spoken with him about doing that. And so hopefully, if we can say to someone, here's your contract, we are making a
Maybe even a
commitment to
signing
you.
bonus or something, you
Right.
know?
'cause I was
That's,
hired.
I
don't know, you
I
know.
don't have any money.
But you know what, if that's such a need, we have foundations and, there are grant opportunities available. Maybe that's something that we need to consider writing a grant for so that we can offer a signing bonus, to teachers, just to get more teachers here that we need, so.
Any more comments?
Ma'am.
Okay, we'll open it up to the public now. If anyone has any questions, comments, concerns. All righty. Our faithful citizen is not here tonight. I miss him dearly. I miss him.
I do, I really do. You
Yes,
have something interesting to say.
he would have a lot to say. I should have reached out before.
I'm shocked, actually.
Another engagement.
He's been busy. So now we'll go to the Sunshine Law training to discuss it. So is any members interested in doing that? We encourage you to attend the training, and if you are interested, let's just discuss some days that you're available to get the training.
I attended it last year, when it was offered to the Equity Committee. I'll be willing to do it again if there's if there's interest from my committee members.
I would
I
like
think
to
there's two
attend.
committee members.
We would like to
We
attend.
need to.
So,
Sure.
so what days are good for you all?
How many hours does it comprise? of?
Hour.
1 hour?
Oh, just an hour. Oh, if it's
I mean,
in
we
the
can make it like
If
3.
it's in the morning,
If you're
morning
dying
is
for,
good.
Before 2:30.
we can extend it.
And if it's before 1 o'clock, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I could do it.
So how about
Thursday and
this?
Friday, I think my grandbaby, I can't do
So
it.
I think last year, Mrs. Diagresso, the school board attorney, is the one that offered the training. I think we need to get with her and see what her calendar does as well. I know Mrs. Davis sends out a calendar invite via email. If we all just respond to that, that would be very, very helpful. Oftentimes, when something's sent out, if there's no responses, of course, we can't set up a meeting. So if it's okay, Mrs. Davis, I'm going to ask you to send some more dates,
Poll, yeah.
a poll for a sunshine meeting, and of
So
course.
which day of the week, like, do you all prefer? So you're saying in the morning, but do you want her to send it on Wednesdays, Tuesdays, Mondays, Thursdays?
What were your dates again?
They were saying
She said-
morning.
She said Thursday and Friday, she's babysitting. Monday.
So Monday through Wednesday?
Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday would be better for me, either.
Well,
Which
maybe
one is-
Wednesday be better for me, as long as it's not the fourth Wednesday, because I'm moonshotting, M-canning that day.
Okay, Wednesday's fine.
So, but I can,
Okay. How quickly are we looking to do that? Before our next March 5th meeting?
That would be
Probably be
good.
the best.
Just not next week, because Monday I'm not available next week, but
We said Wednesday,
I'll
Grace.
be there too, we spending the night.
if I go, I'm spending the night.
What time are we looking at? Morning, did I hear morning
They
by
said
somebody?
morning, I'm not, yeah, I won't
So
be
we're-
able to attend, I won't.
Then
I'm
we'll do
not-
it at 5:30?
No, you all could do it, in the morning, it's fine.
Okay.
Did you want to attend?
If you wanna.
I was gonna attend, but
What's good
like,
for
I'm
you?
already,
What's good for you?
no,
we
cause,
work
'cause the majority can do it in the morning, so it's fine, it's fine. I'm abreast of the sunshine law.
So time? Do we have any times? I'm okay at 5:30, I'm okay in the morning, so, I mean, not 5:30 in the morning, but 5:30 at night
Let's be
or in the
clear.
morning, I'm okay either way, I
9
just,
o'clock is good for me.
Ms. Green, are you sure you're okay? I mean, I
Yes,
would love
it's-
us to do it together, but if, I understand if you have
It's fine.
obligations.
Well, see, I have two things. I'm not available in the morning. I'm not available until after March. I was looking. I was like, oh.
Until
yeah.
after March,
Until
so-
after our March 5th meeting, so I know that you all want to get it.
So we will try to do it on a Wednesday morning around 9 a.m. And then,
Does it have to be done before March 5th?
I think the sooner we do it, the better, before we get a lot of, we want to meet quarterly. So I don't want to have two of our meetings out of the way before we finally get our sunshine meetings done. So, but of course, we can do it whenever. We don't have to do it. I just think it's a good recommendation for all of us to sit down and go through it. So I'll just look for that in your emails, and if you could
Okay.
respond, and we'll. Flying through tonight.
Okay, so now we will decide what are we discussing for March 5th. So we discussed recruitment and African-American achievement. We didn't make any recommendations for recruitment, which is what we typically do.
So is there, I guess you want to start there, is there any other recruitment data that any committee member wants to review? We only have 2 more recruitment trips before the next meeting, so I don't know if it's, it'd be valuable to have recruitment back on the list, because, we're going to go 2 other places rather than the next meeting, but are we satisfied?
Just give us an update. Will you have a recruitment before we meet March?
She says two.
I believe it's 2, if I read it right, correctly.
Trying to find,
Yes,
12 and
UCF
27.
and Albany
and Albany
State.
State,
Okay,
Albany
yeah.
is they call.
Yeah, just give us an update of the results of,
Okay.
Would you like an update on the,
number of offers
on,
and so forth,
yeah,
yeah.
what about the sorority, or are you okay with May?
I think we've got enough time to reach out to sororities. Okay, I think we need to make some progress, at least make some attempt to, I know the AKAs are gonna be at the HBCU tomorrow night, okay?
GYC.
GYAC, so if somebody could reach out to them, maybe get put on their agenda for their next meeting.
Deb Long is
Isn't it
is
Deborah's-
heavily involved in her sorority, so
Yes, we're doing
Yeah, because I
know.
will be there.
College night tomorrow night.
Will, the school district be in attendance with that?
No, that's sponsored by Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and it's gonna be 30 HBCUs represented. But
Well-
that's independent of the school district.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, will they be attending the event? Because won't it be college students there, or it's just high school students?
High school,
Oh, just high school, okay.
but you can make connection with HBCUs, because there
They're
will be
Right.
You
30
can touch
representatives
bases.
Yeah.
You got that
Right.
many in one place.
Mr. Smeltzer, do you all plan to attend to connect with the, because they're saying that's happening tomorrow night at GYAC.
6 o'clock.
So was the district invited to that, I would
It's
ask?
open to the public.
It's open.
There's
So it's
been
open to the
flyers out.
public, yeah.
I
Yeah,
did
they
send some
did.
out to the
They did.
high schools.
Yeah, 'cause we-
Okay. Okay, so we'll get an
Dr.
update.
Long, will you have a sign-in sheet?
Yes, there will be a sign-in sheet.
Okay, and on the sign-in sheet, will it be the name of the person that's representing the HBCU with the table set up there?
Yes, we have that already.
And maybe if you could share that with the district, since they're not gonna be there, that might be helpful. At least you would know the name of the contact person and the name of the school.
No problem, I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so for discussion, in the next meeting, what area will we be discussing? We
I thought
discussed-
last meeting, we identified what we were gonna discuss. I thought we did. Let me see.
Well, we went over the achievement, we could actually go over the achievement plan, because we basically just got an overview from Dr. Moore. If we took time to look at it, then we can come here and talk about it. I think appendix, period, I was gonna say A, but
Appendix Green?
right, stop. So I think this would be good to look at and kind of discuss that, because, this is not a copy I had, because there was one chart where there's information in it that will definitely surprise you.
Yeah, and Dr. Moore will also be giving updates to the board monthly as well, so that we can, certainly have conversations about his monthly updates to them as well. So if we want to keep that as a standing item on our meetings, African American Achievement Plan, just briefly just to check in on it, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll just have achievement plan, recurring agenda item.
Because we'll have monthly data that we can review and.
And then there's also, matter of fact, let's just go to, we can kind of set our agenda based off the reports that are here. Because there's also, monthly reports for discipline that we can take a look at, and then
So let's do this March.
for retention and hiring. And
What
quarterly
about the
report.
ESC identification? That's a first of every month while students are in school.
Okay.
Information on the number and the percent of African American students found eligible for ESC. Mhm.
Okay, so then the recurring will be, achievement plan, recurring discussion with that information.
So just discipline and ESC identification, those are the only areas. I just want to make sure that we're clear, that way staff knows what to prepare for us. And
Well, Dr. Moore was saying that that's gonna be online, so it will have already,
if he's been sharing, absolutely, yeah. Yep. Is there any other section of
Yeah.
the plan?
So we said discipline and ESE?
Identification.
then we also need to,
You wanna look at minority hiring?
I do, yeah.
The hiring and,
Retention.
the
Hiring and
retention part
retention.
is really
Would it be fair to just say we're gonna monitor the benchmarks on the
yeah, that's
monthly?
kind of what I said, yeah. Yeah, and then the other section, what is another section that we're going to discuss? Are we going to discuss mentoring next time? Or do you want to dive deeper into achievement gap information?
I'd say achievement gap
Yeah, dive
information.
So what data are you going to look for achievement gap? Are we going to look at the progress monitoring, or are we going to look what's,
I think
what's
we'll
in
just
appendix
go
green?
through the appendix, look
Okay.
at that, and then also look at the benchmarks that she was saying,
Okay.
like the updates.
So to prepare, should we examine the data and come up with our own observations and wonderings?
That would be a good idea, just to look through. If we just look through, I mean, if you want to look through the plan as a whole, you can, and definitely look at the appendix. And if we have any questions, we have a data guy, a part of our committee, so,
Absolutely.
you know, we have him right here. Okay, well, this is,
We run the data by schools, right?
We can. The big problem when we do that is if we run it by school, by grade level, sometimes we have groups that are less than 10, so we can't report that data for you. So, it's like, third grade African-American students, if there's less than 10 third graders at a particular school, we can't give you that data because it's under 10. So the more we break it down, the less we can share, because anything under 10 we can't give you. So we can certainly give it to you by school, because there'll be more than 10 at most schools.
Okay, by school.
But when you go by grade, you're really starting to get,
Because in this plan, it just has it by, from
The whole
3
district.
to, yeah.
Yeah,
I want
3 to 10, straight
I
through,
really
it
would like to
doesn't
see it
break
by
it down,
school.
Would it be
Okay,
too
I think that's a
cumbersome
good
to pull
idea.
up
yeah.
Ed stats during a meeting and look at it?
we could, I always hate going live though, because you
Yeah,
know how it goes when you
Yeah,
go
but I mean,
live,
because
so.
you're gonna be printing a whole lot of,
to do, but she didn't.
Well, the whole, she's saying do it by school and by grade. What are
Not
we,
by grade, by school, right?
By school.
By
That's
school.
good.
I would like it
Okay.
by grade.
We can, but the more you break it down, the more asterisks you're gonna get. 'cause
Yeah,
you're gonna
but
get-
here he put, less than 10.
Oh,
So
we can
still-
certainly do it, but yeah, it'll just be a lot more asterisks, so if we do it by school, we'll have more data rather than asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
Because if we look at certain things by school, like we may be able to see trends for certain areas.
So there are less than 10 African-American students
Possibly, yeah,
in each grade?
possibly.
Really?
So think about, like Pelican Island, they might have 80 students per grade, whatever it is, so, it depends on the racial breakdown, by grade. If there's 10% African-American students, you're looking at 8, so that's under 10. So the more you break it down, the more asterisks you'll get. So we can certainly do it, it'll just be asterisk, you'll get a lot more asterisks.
That's
so.
what we saw with the gifted.
Exactly right,
Yeah,
gifted
like,
was the same way.
every school had less than 10, so
Exactly
it
right.
just said less than 10 for,
Yep, that's a good
Right.
point.
And when it's less than 10, then we just need it by school rather than grade. So we'll, at least
Do we
we'll
want
have-
to start, how about, do we want to start at school first, and then see if there's a need to continue to break it down by grade?
Could you run
Chairman
both
Green,
of us?
you're giving me a look.
Saying,
You're
could
giving me a
you
look.
Could you do both?
Well,
Could you do
well,
it by
to-
school?
Well, for me, by school, you don't really get to see,
it's
so,
like too
okay, so
general.
for instance, let's say that black students are scoring high in third grade, but it declines to fifth grade, but I won't know that if I did it by school.
Mm-hmm. That's why
'cause
I said,
would
could
just
you
see
do it
black
by
students.
school and then
Right,
also
so
do
I
it
can
by
know
grade?
that, okay, if they're doing better in fifth than they were in third, then maybe it's not foundational, but if they're doing bad in third, then it
And it
may be
just
something
continued
foundational
on
and it
to-
continues, right? So,
That's why I'm saying, couldn't we run the data for by school as well as by grade? I hate to
could,
put
yeah.
it all at
No, we-
work, but in order for us to
He's
look
saying that's a
at-
lot of trees.
That's a lot of trees. No, Ms. Walker said that's a lot of trees, just to clarify.
Oh, Ms. Walker said.
So, yeah, I mean, if that's what the committee wants, I mean, just be
get it.
prepared for a lot of asterisks, so we can certainly.
Listen, if we're gonna look at
A lot of
trends
paper.
and try to figure out, you know, what's happening, where are we losing our kids, where we need to provide additional support, we gotta have the
Okay.
data.
So you want, so what do we want, the ELA and math?
Math
Okay.
ELA, yeah.
So I wonder if
So
Dr.
then
Moore is
that's-
going to be having conversations, data chats, he said as soon as Friday with the principals. So that information should be readily available, right? Or you
Right
talking to,
now,
or we looking at, I mean, at least our current data where the schools are.
Mm-hmm.
So that Chris doesn't have to redo it unless you're looking for a
But if we're
trend.
talking to a principal about their data, we don't have to asterisk that out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But if we're sharing it here.
Right,
we
we
have
could,
to,
we
so-
could control for whatever, I'm just saying whatever
So you
information
want to
he's gonna
replicate some of
present.
that information that we're having is that the question? So what, you know, the information that we're sharing with the principals, or that having the conversation, you want some of that data to come here? Is that what I'm
Maybe
hearing?
like some of the things that they're seeing in their own data, like what are they seeing?
And what they see.
Yeah, what what are they specifically gonna be doing about it? Because they're already doing the analysis. So what is coming out of those meetings? And can that be shared with us, like what their plan is to move forward specifically for schools? That's
a
the
good idea.
current, in the moment data. And if we still want to see the trend data, then Chris will provide that for us.
Okay, we can do that.
And you want, so ELA and math would be,
I mean, that would be the two to start. I mean, because
Yeah.
those are the basics.
yeah, by school, by grade, and by race, or just black students.
And white, right? I think
Black and white.
typically what we do is, yeah, I think the plan has
Well, I
compared
like
to.
to add Hispanic students, just like, as I stated earlier, because
Because
Is there any-
So just because a student's Hispanic doesn't mean they're ELL, though. I just,
exactly, but they are the population with the most that are possibly second language English, which is why I like to look at the Hispanic population in that.
okay, yeah,
And they do have-
that's a general statement.
Yeah, but
we'll-
we've talked about this already.
Yeah,
Last
yeah.
time we talked about that just because they're Hispanic doesn't mean that
Correct, that's
they're
why I just wanna
English
make
second
sure, yeah.
language. But they, and that's why I liked all the races, you put them on, but Asian, there's less than 10 a lot of times. So the Hispanic population has a greater number, and you can really see the difference. Because we could also request that it's stated, separated and show who has English as a second language and how they are compared to.
Because they have to do that.
But that would also include like Haitian Creole students who are coming, right? As in the ELL
But they don't
demographic.
separate
You
them
don't
out.
have to-
They're
yeah.
Right,
included
that's what I
in the
know.
African
I know,
American.
I
You know, all
know.
students can be Chinese, they
Yeah.
can be.
Right,
they can
I
visit,
know.
Yeah,
And that skews your data also.
Right.
it all depends what you're looking for.
Many times, English is not their primary language,
Right.
so.
But they're faring better than African-American students on testing.
Yes.
So that says a lot.
That sure does.
I think those strategies that they're using,
Yeah, there's
Very
good
effective.
support, yeah.
And I know
Sure.
us.
So they're getting additional support, is that's what's
Yeah,
happening?
if they have English as a second language.
When ours were bilingual, we found out that was what kept our scores up. But they were taught in Spanish, but when it was time to transition, our test scores, it was them.
Wow. So we are requesting the ELA math by school, by grade, by race. And then who's reaching out to Dr. Moore to see if the data chats can be shared with the committee? Is that you, Ms. Walker, or she pointed to you,
Chris.
Mr. Taylor?
I was
I
pointing
don't
at her,
mind.
so-
I don't mind, I will. I'll take one for the team.
Okay, so next meeting, we will be going over, I think we're also discussing the progress, the status report, because that's why Dr. Moore requested that.
I think
So,
that's a good point, yeah.
yeah, so we put the status report on here.
Do you have the old ones? I don't know if I have a copy of
Due to the code,
the one that we gave.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no.
I don't know if we have a copy of what we submitted last year for March and September. I think that'd be a good idea if we can.
It was incomplete. It was. It didn't, it just had, Rachel Moray left the committee, Jacqueline Warrior left the committee. Like, it didn't actually say, progress, like we've done this, this, and this. You know, like in this progress report, it'll include that the African American, student achievement, academic achievement plan has been established and that stuff.
Okay. I think that's a good topic.
Okay, so we have status report, achievement plan, recurring items, achievement gap. Is there anything else that we're covering?
No other sections? I'm okay, I want to clarify before we leave.
I thought we said we were gonna kind of review them all.
Well, we're reviewing the entire plan, so maybe I should have put plan/recurring items. So we'll review the plan and go through this, and then look at the request for by grade, by school. And that should be a full meeting.
Definitely.
Okay, well, I forgot how to adjourn the meeting.
You can just gavel if you want.
So then meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming out. We hope we didn't bore you too
7:24.
much.
Madam Chair.
7:24 is the time.
We were supposed to get a